I probably went a little bit too far with the thumbnail for this video, but that's because that's the best Joker face I could think to come up with. Not a poker face, it's a Joker face. It's one of those faces that you make when the Joker slaps you with some laughing gas and you don't know how to respond to it yet. Feel free to judge the thumbnail just like you judge any other part of me during these videos, but I just thought I should inform you that I had the best of intentions when I actually came up with that thumbnail. Welcome to my Joker spoiler talk video. I'm going to be talking in depth about Joker today. Joker's been out for over a week. I feel like most of the people that wanted to see Joker have seen Joker at this point. It's already over like 400 million worldwide, so I feel like I want to talk in depth. I want to break some things down. I want to talk about some of my favorite Joker scenes that are in the movie, some of the things that I think are worthy of discussion. If you've not yet seen Joker, I feel like you should turn away from this video. I do have a spoiler-free video on my channel where I review the Joker. You can check that video out. Fun fact, did you guys know that the guy who plays Thomas Wayne in this movie also was in another Batman movie a while ago, The Dark Knight Rises? Also, if you pay close attention to Arthur's notebook, several scenes in the movie, like with his therapist and with Murray at the end, some of the dialogue is foreshadowed if you pay attention to his words. Also, I'm not sure what it is about Jokers and cop cars, but we now have two iconic shots involving Joker in the last two films that he was involved in the last 11 years. For a movie like this to come out, for it to be such a fascinating character study on the character of Joker, who is by himself one of the more fascinating characters in comic book history. It's the type of movie that comes out where you have no choice but to talk about it in spoilers, and I know that I'm a little bit late, but bear with me because I have a lot of interesting shit to talk about. One of the things I want to highlight right out of the gate is the visual storytelling that's on display in this movie. That's something that not a lot of people talk about. In this movie, there are definitely a few shots that capture the different points in Arthur's arc and the Joker's arrival. Notice early on in the movie when Arthur is walking to his apartment, you notice that he has to go up a shit ton of stairs. Now, I'll be honest, I took one look at those stairs and said, yep, I'd go crazy too if I had to walk up them bitches every day. Notice that it's a very muted and dark color palette whenever he walks up these stairs. Notice that later on in the movie when he becomes the Joker, going down the stairs, it's all bright, it's very vibrant color palette around him, and he's smiling and he's laughing and he feels good. And obviously these represent two different points in his arc. On one hand, you could look at the muted and dark cinematography, the way that he slowly walks up the stairs in the beginning of the film. You could look at that and say that captures kind of the depression and some of the mental illness and the issues that he's dealing with internally. And even though he puts on a happy face like him and his mother say throughout the film, he's not actually a happy person. And the darkness kind of symbolizes the inner darkness that he's struggling with. Him walking up the stairs, that might symbolize him trying to rise above it to become a better person. Him as the Joker, like when he's in his full Joker makeup and outfit, this is when he's at his most happy. And I feel like that's why he's singing, that's why he's dancing, that's why he's smiling. This is his literal descent into madness. And I feel like that was visually captured very well. At that point, yes, he has embraced the darkness inside of him, but as a result, he's a happier person. Remember those kids that take his sign and then they beat him in the face with it and then they kick him and they leave him there? If you notice, he reaches for the sign. Then at the last second, he reaches for his, what is that thing called? Is it a squirter? I'm gonna call it a squirter because I don't know what else to call it, and because it reminds me of this woman that I knew a few years ago who, you know what, let's just stick to the movie for now. I thought it was pretty symbolic that he reached for this squirter thing instead of picking up the sign, because I thought that was a great insight into the character of Arthur as well. Even when he's in pain, this is a dude that's trying to reach out and trying to smile and trying to come up with things that will make him feel happy or make other people feel happy or whatever. Obviously, you can't go any further in this video without talking about the bathroom scene. Come on, man, the bathroom scene is just, it's godly, it's God tier. It's one of my favorite scenes of the entire year. If you listen to Todd Phillips actually break this scene down, he's not entirely sure how he's supposed to finish this scene off. This scene was basically improv by Joaquin Phoenix. Apparently when Todd Phillips was imagining the scene, he thought that maybe they should come up with a way where Arthur would get rid of the gun, but then him and Joaquin talked about it, and Joaquin was like, I don't think that he would be thinking about getting rid of the gun. I think he would be basking in this moment. This guy just killed 3 people in cold blood on the subway. I mean, those guys were dicks, they were assholes. You run into assholes every day, guys. I don't think that means that they should be dead. There's something so beautiful about that scene, the way the score kicks in, and the way that he's just dancing in front of the mirror. I feel like this is the first time in the entire film that you feel that Joker personality come out of it. Well, it's this scene and also the other scene where he's talking to his boss and then he has that really creepy ass smile on his face. It's also kind of weird for a movie that is like 80% about Arthur Fleck and like 20% about the Joker for it to have some of my all-time favorite Joker moments. Obviously the talk show scene at the end of the film where he gets invited onto Murray's show, and then, you know, obviously we know how that ends. He basically calls out Murray for inviting him on the show, for trying to embarrass him, shoots him in the head, everybody goes crazy. A lot of people, it's gonna remind them of that scene off of The Dark Knight Returns, where the Joker goes on the talk show and he ends up killing everybody in the audience. This movie's obviously a much more contained version of that, but I feel like at this point you should never invite a character like Joker onto a talk show because we know how that's gonna end. My favorite Joker moment was not only the entire scene leading up to that, where he's dancing before he comes on stage, where he shoots the guy in the head, and where he talks into the camera afterwards. And after he gets into that accident and then he wakes up and he stands on the roof of the car, I love the fact that he takes the blood from his mouth because he's bleeding from the accident and he turns it into a smile. It's just one of those epic moments that I'm always gonna remember. Another great Joker scene is obviously the scene with the midget. I have to talk about the scene with the midget. I'm gonna be honest, I don't actually remember what the person's name is, so I feel bad calling them midget. I feel like I should just call them small for this one, but I don't know what their name is, so I don't know what else to call them. Scene in his apartment where those guys come over, the people that he used to work with, and they're like, oh, well, we heard about your mom, and he's like, yeah, it's okay, I'm celebrating. Right there, I would be like, wait, what? You're celebrating? Your mother died? Okay, well, hey, we'll see you, Arthur. It's time to go. Let's get the fuck out of here. You already know that he's gonna kill the guy that gave him the gun earlier, but the best part about the scene is that the Small is just sitting there freaking out because he thinks that Arthur's gonna do something to him. And Arthur's like, oh yeah, you can go. And then he tries to go, but Arthur locked the top lock on the door. He slid it shut, so he can't reach it because he's so small. Best moment is when he turns around to Arthur and he's like, hey, can you open the door or whatever? And Arthur is just like, oh yeah, sure, I got you, man. And the whole time I'm just sitting there thinking like, did he plan this? Did he think that this was gonna be funny? Is this why he locked the door like that? Because he knew that this might happen, and as a result he thought it was going to be funny? Or did he think he was going to kill this person and that's why he locked the door? I don't know. I thought it was one of those weird, funny but tense type of moments. He fake lunges at him a couple of times and then he's opening the door, but then he closes and he's like, you know what? And I'm like, oh shit, he's actually going to kill this dude. But then he's like, nah, you were the only person that was ever nice to me, man. You can go. And then he kisses him on the forehead. I was just like, that's perfect Joker scene. Definitely a handful of other scenes in the film that give you an insight into how messed up this individual is. Comedy club scene where he's writing down jokes, he's taking notes from some other comic that's on stage. Notice how offbeat he is with the laughter. Like everybody else in the room is laughing at the normal shit that you would laugh at, and he's laughing at all the shit that you wouldn't laugh at. One of the first signs that there's something off with him, obviously if you pay attention to his handwriting and his notebook and stuff like that, I think Joaquin Phoenix is right-handed. I feel like at a certain point in the movie he starts writing left-handed. That's where you can kind of feel that Joker persona kind of coming out of him. No idea if they did that intentionally or if that's just kind of a happy accident, like that's just the way that Joaquin Phoenix added detail to his performance, but either way, it was awesome. One of the big flaws that I was gonna have with this movie was about Zazie, because that was a romance thing that didn't really work for me in the movie. They didn't really try to establish her as a character. She was just there, and then there was some stuff that happened that was way too unrealistic with their relationship. Then you realize later on in the movie that it's all in his head and it's all delusional and they never actually did anything. And I'm just like, okay, well that fixes the issue that I had. I can't complain about that as a flaw anymore. Of course, the question is, did he actually kill the woman and her daughter? I mean, the movie leaves it kind of ambiguous. I have heard that there is a deleted scene. Apparently he leaves flowers at her door and he's a note that says, hey, watch me on the Murray Show, which does imply that she is alive. I'm glad that scene was cut because number one, I feel like this scene needs to be more ambiguous. Like we need to wonder more about Arthur's motivations. Another thing is that it would have made Arthur feel a little bit more sympathetic, and I don't think that this movie at that point needed him to feel more sympathetic. I don't know what's real, what's in his head, what's not, and that's perfect. Joker is not the best or most reliable source of intel when it comes to narrating a story. Joker's past is multiple choice. I love the fact that this movie is multiple choice. You could make a decent argument based on what you see in the movie that something is real versus something is not real. Is Thomas Wayne his actual father? There's enough evidence actually in the movie to support that maybe he was his actual father, and there's also evidence to say that maybe he wasn't. My theory is that at the end of the film when he's in the Arkham place, I feel like that's him, and I feel like that's him older, like he's been Joker for a while now. He's just reminiscing and he's telling the doctor about his memories and telling her about his story. Obviously some parts of it are going to be real and fake because the Joker likes to exaggerate shit. The joke at the end, obviously the way they cut that together with the shot of Bruce Wayne mourning his parents, I feel like when he said this is a joke that will be between me and him, obviously I think that he's celebrating the parallel between his rise as Joker but also the birth of the eventual Batman. Either that or he thinks it's kind of funny that Thomas Wayne, after orphaning him, is now Bruce Wayne is orphaned, and maybe he just thinks there's something ironic about it. No matter what you think about that scene or about the ending of this movie or the different interpretations, the point is that there are multiple of them, and that's what makes this this movie so layered and so easy to talk about. A lot of people have asked me what I think about Heath Ledger versus Joaquin Phoenix. Guys, they're too hard to compare. I feel like they're two different stages of Joker. I do have to say this though, I think Heath Ledger's Joker will always be more iconic, not just because of the things that he said and did during that movie, but also because he died, and I feel like his death also immortalized his performance, whereas Joaquin Phoenix is still here and we can still like see more performances. Heath Ledger's Joker is always going to be more iconic, but I feel like Joaquin Phoenix's Joker performance-wise is right up there with him. Feel free to comment in the comment section and let me know if I missed anything that you wanted to talk about. Like and subscribe to the Superfan Show, and as always, if you like what you see, tell me how you feel and stay tuned to hear more from the Man of Steel. Peace.